But the best advice I can give is to...
We're back at the Frozen Assets podcast. This is all about freeze-drying entrepreneurship, highlighting the industry, entrepreneurs who are producing things, all to give them a spotlight of what's happening in the industry. And lucky for you, Haskell Noah, he produces the Yo's Froyo Bite. Okay, now we're in the office in Yo's Froyo Bites headquarters, okay? So now we're gonna talk to Haskell a little bit about his business background, give some advice along the way about how he does social media. So we'll talk to Haskell. Haskell, okay, we're in the office now.
I know you're interviewing me, but I have to ask you a question. What inspires and motivates you to do what you're doing? Because I love watching what you do, and many people do. So why? What's your inspiration? Just you happen to have a freeze dryer and doing that, and you like talking to the camera? What inspires you?
It's a good question. What inspires me is I have kind of this entrepreneur sales mentality. I've always had that. I've been in sales for a long time. And I basically, when I was working in sales doing marketing and advertising, you're working with small businesses, medium businesses. You're working with this full gamut of people who know what they're doing. There's also people that probably know what they're doing, but they're doing something for the first time. So like somebody who wants to start a dentist shop, you know, they know what they're doing to be a dentist, but they don't know what they're doing to market it to people who are seeing 50 other dentists in the area doing the exact same thing that they're doing. So they have to market themselves differently. And so when I got into freeze drying, I kind of knew how to like spring forward, get my freeze dryer. But then I also realized like, hey, you kind of have to know what you're doing. And then I wanted to show people all these different hurdles that I had to get through, because I'm like, I feel like people are starting these different businesses with a home freeze dryer. And so what inspires me and keeps me going is like the fact that I'm meeting people like yourself and other entrepreneurs and these companies all across the world. I'm like, it's small, but I'm getting access to them in a way that other people aren't.
Yeah.
Which is...
Because of your profession. What do you do?
Yeah. And kind of it's like, I don't know how long this YouTube thing lasts, because I use YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, and it's like they could switch a trigger, or I could say something in the video that they say, hey, that's a warning, and like all of a sudden shut me down. And then I'm left with something else. So that's why I created the summit, because I'm like, okay, now I have people understanding that there's an event they can go to, and I try to get my email list to distribute out. So those are the things that I work on, so that the platform that I'm on, I'm not super reliant on that, so that I can continue. But
can I tell you what I'm trying to do about that?
Yeah, what are you trying to do?
Because I have the same feeling with you. You don't know, for whatever reason, bogus reason probably most of the time, why they switch you down. And then you have to figure out who to call. Then you can't call. You have to DM or text. Or how do you get hold of Meta to find out how to get back on again? So I always thought, well, what am I going to do? If they shut me down, then I have to go traditional, then I go retail, store to store, and store to store. I like direct to consumer. So what I did was I redid my whole website. Right, the website's being.
It's a beautiful website.
Thank you. It's 20. What you saw so far is 20% of it. The rest of it's coming in about any day now. Let's just say, by the time we launch in a few weeks from now, it'll be very different. So what I want to do with my website is make it like a community-driven website. So in kind of like an Instagram for Yo's, you know what I mean? Where the community gets to talk to each other. If Yo's gets taken offline by one of the social media companies, doesn't make a difference. The community is still there on the website. Obviously, the website's not as big and grand as Instagram, but if the community is there, then I can focus on that community, and that community can help build the audience and keep the momentum going.
Yeah,
that's the only way you can do it. You have to build your own mini Instagram, your own social media within the website.
But I've noticed you've always stuck with Instagram. Why is that? Why not go with something that's
like a first child? It's like a first. You just do it and you're used to it. You know, there's so many things to learn. I'm sure TikTok's going to be amazing when the time comes. I don't have the head to learn it right now. And you'll see why today, as the day goes by. There's so many different things we're dealing with. And TikTok is such a huge audience that if you don't have if you're there just for entertainment, no big deal. But if you're there for entertainment and to sell what you're entertaining, the Froyo Bites, I can't produce enough. You know, our facility, we can do maybe 10 to 15,000 pouches a month. Maybe 18,000, pushing it, right? So it's really more of a launch and learn facility, what we're going to see later on this afternoon.
A lot of people are on Instagram as a small business, but they just don't know what to post. what to post in a story and what to do for a reel. But you do all three. What does every single type of post do for you? Can you explain that for people?
Let's say, as an example, yesterday, my son Yosef was changing the oil in the freeze dryer. Sounds boring if you think about it, right? Changing the oil in the freeze dryer. But if you, in a story, you can't really do this in a post so easily, because in stories, if you take it in 15-second segments, then this 15 seconds, even though it may be a 1-minute story, but this 15 seconds of the 1-minute story is about what oil we choose to use. The next 15 seconds is why we need to change it and how often. The next 15 seconds will be demonstrating how it works. And you have to write the captions above so that people understand. You can it's like a YouTube short, I guess. You know, you're taking it in short, digestible pieces, right? So for a full-on post, though, that's really content that you want to keep up there. First of all, I should say that the stories to me are really for our founding followers, like our brand angels, because they come and they go. So they're little secrets. If something comes and goes, not going to be there again, then it's almost like a little secret. And the only people that get to hear the secret is if you're part of the community, if you're a founding follower. And these secrets are there for dining room, dinner conversations, pillow talk with your husband or wife, you know, taking kids to school, whatever it is that may become beneficial to you, but they're unique and they're special for those group of people. We have about maybe 1,000 people that watch our stories religiously. Those 1,000 people, I try and imagine what 1,000 people is like. I had a 100-person wedding when I got married. My wife and I got married. And that was pretty big. 100 people is quite a decent amount of people, right? Now in my head, I'm thinking, well, 10 times that amount. So that's 1,000 people that are really into the story, focused on what's going on, like an ongoing movie. And all those stories that they learn and they hear about, they tell. That's why I call them brand angels, you know? People are, just this morning, I had a lady write to me. She saw the oil post that we put up yesterday, the oil story that we put up yesterday. A little boring to put an oil change as a post. But the story, and you're narrating the story, and people are good with that, you know? As an example, I don't know if you know 70 Below in Canada.
Yes.
Right? So, lovely lady, great people. And she saw the oil come out of my freeze dryer yesterday, and she said, Haskell, that's crazy. How does it get so dirty after this 3 or 5 runs? And the truth is, I still don't know. I don't have anything. Maybe you know. I don't know, because you have freeze dryers, so I don't know.
You don't have a commercial freeze dryer, that's why.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're probably right about that. Yeah. But
well, a commercial meaning like something that's made by like an industrial company that's down there. But I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's it. Reels I still haven't gotten. I mean, Reels are good. You know what's really helpful? What is it called? Instagram. You've seen it. You use Instagram. It's where they let you edit your videos. It's like a TikTok thing. But their editor, their video editor, is really good. I'm sure TikTok is as well. But so I love the fact that you can splice it and add overlays and speed up the speed and slow it down. All these things, feel like a god almost. The way that you're doing these things is amazing. So so stories are really for brand angels. Posts are information that I want to keep up there, and I want to get the general audience as they come over the time. You know, they get to come watch it and they learn. But I like having something special for the brand angels. You know, and that's how I approach my stories. Yeah. Brand angels. But this lady wrote to me this morning. She said, Haskell, I saw you were doing the oil yesterday and all the things that you go through, and I just want to say that I suffer from chronic depression and anxiety. But when I watch your videos, I'm going to show you. Just so you don't think I'm BSing, right? It made me feel so good. So I just want to let you know that you give me a sense of calm. I see how you deal with things and how frustrated I would get with doing those things, but the way you approach it makes me feel good and helps me approach things a little differently. It's like a blessing. When you hear something like that, make me feel really good.
Yep.
So, and I get those sort of messages all the time. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying well, maybe it is, but it makes me feel good inside. Yeah. You know, when you can help somebody, great. And I'm not trying to push a sale onto anyone. Yeah. I haven't got anything to sell yet. So everything is just pure goodness, back and forth. Those DMs that come back and forth. I don't have one DM in my inbox that hasn't been answered. Everyone deserves. And if you're reaching out to me for whatever reason, if you want to try and sell me something, maybe there's a lot of packaging companies out there in America that do packaging in China and outside of China, and domestically over here, and they try and get my business. My criteria for business getting from me, as far as getting my business, is local. You got to be local. A guy from New Jersey wrote to me this morning, Haskell, been following you for 6 years, and I want you to try and do your pouches or your boxes with us. My first question is, are you in LA? No, but we offer great prices. I don't care. If you're not in LA and I can't go and see you, like when we do our boxes, right? Yeah. Our branded boxes. So I want to, when the production run starts, I want to be there. I want to be there. If something doesn't go right with the first 10 pieces out of 1,000 or 5,000 piece run, that's fine, because the machine needs to get the inks going through, everything needs to calibrate. But once you're into maybe 50, 60 pieces, at that point onwards, the run should be perfect. So then if I pull a box out and I look at the colors and I look at the artwork and the die line, make sure the die lines didn't get mixed up along the way. Yep. Things get mixed up, you know. Before you know it, you can have 5,000 boxes that with the old die line, with the old design work, even worse, the old size box, now all of a sudden I'll have 5,000 boxes where the pouches don't fit nicely. So you've got to be really focused on all these micro details. Otherwise, it's a very expensive problem.
Yeah.
I'll show you some of those very expensive problems that happened to me at Mission Kitchens later on today.
Well, I want to ask you now, moving on to like more about the freeze drying. So why would you want to freeze dry frozen yogurt? Like, why did you even think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I love frozen yogurt. That was my inspiration. I love the tart frozen yogurt. And I would eat pink berry on the East Coast when I was living. I don't know if you've heard of pink berry or not. Actually, they started over here in California, and then a lot of their stores went out of business. But I think pink berry helped introduce the tart flavor frozen yogurt to America. And then a whole bunch of chains opened up after that. But I always liked it. It felt pure and clean. Behind everything, I mean, the purest and the cleanest is a fruit or a vegetable. Hands down. And I would tell anyone, if you're thinking, should I go with Yo's Froyo Bites or a tangerine? I'll say take a tangerine, definitely. As a human being, the best thing you can have is a fruit or vegetable. But secondary, Yo's Froyo Bites, you know, because we put real fruit into our Froyo Bites. Not just fruit. The format of fruit is important as well. We put a fruit puree concentrate. You can imagine our strawberry puree concentrate is really concentrated. Yesterday I went to Yogurtland. I had some of their strawberry froyo. Put my spoon in, tasting it, and it didn't taste like it had any strawberry in whatsoever. Later on at night, I saw it said it was the third ingredient. I would say there's someone bullshitting over there, to be honest with you. It just didn't have it. I know what strawberry tastes. We all know. Yeah. Some of it, if you're our age, you know what a strawberry tastes like. If you're younger and you're used to eating junk food and where they put strawberry flavoring, then you're grown up in a generation where you think strawberry flavoring is what real strawberry tastes like, because you don't really like fruit. A lot of people don't like fruit. So I don't understand why. I think it's got to do with parenting, to be honest with you. You know, like I've noticed that if I give my daughter broccoli, in the beginning she didn't like it so much, and then she's like, hey, Dad, I like broccoli. You know, I try with different flavorings and seasons, and finally she liked broccoli. You know, but if you never introduce fruits and vegetables to the kids, then what do they know? You can't blame them for eating junk.
Yeah. So you liked frozen yogurt.
I like frozen yogurt.
But then did someone introduce you to a freeze dryer? Because in 2016, I mean, I don't know very many people that had freeze dryers. So who introduced you to that? And then how much did it cost? Give us an idea. Like how much does it?
When I bought my freeze dryer, it was approximately, I think $3,500 investment at the time. I was at home. I just got out of an industry in the cell phone. I was in the wireless industry, cell phone industry. Got home after a late night. Put the TV on and I saw a Harvest Right commercial. And they were only in business for 2 years when I saw that commercial at that time. Now they've been in business, I don't know, maybe 14 years, something like that. But at that time, it was only 2 years. And I said, I'm going to get a freeze dryer. You know, and I took my passion for that frozen yogurt and I started playing around. Originally, I started playing around just with yogurt. You know, and you probably freeze-dried yogurt in here and there. You know, it doesn't freeze-dry very well.
Yeah.
So light and puffy and all that, right?
Yeah.
But when, you know, so I started doing experiments, more and more. I'll show you before we leave to go to our facility. I've got 2 big boxes of molds, food grade silicone molds, different shapes, different sizes. We experimented with so many things. A lot of them we custom made ourselves. A lot of them we just bought from Amazon, you know, and there is a difference between the outcome of different shapes. I'd probably have to put an experiment into an algorithm using AI to figure out why exactly. I have a hunch why you get a different, like if you wanted a very dense, crunchy froyo bite as an example, you'd probably go with my old shape, right? I think it's something to do with the way the mold releases the gases, the water vapors out. It's got a small opening at the top of the mold. So it's something it does, I don't know exactly what, but you get a different outcome. If you have a more exposed mold, a more open case mold, right, then you'll also get a different outcome. So the depth of the mold, the open surface of the mold, whether you use a block mold or a compression mold or a vacuum mold, so many different kinds of molds you can use. As long as they're all food grade, you're good. But, you know, see, it just involves, it's a lot of experimenting. So we'll show you what we ended up with at Mission Kitchens today.
But can you think back, was there a moment that you started freeze drying this stuff and you're like, I can create a business out of this? Was there a moment there?
When I got out of the cell phone business, I got out financially comfortable for that time. So I wasn't really thinking about it from a business perspective. It was more of a hobby. It was a hobby, and that's probably best case for the consumer, long run for the consumers, that's best. Because if I went in with a frame of mind where how am I going to make money? Making money seems a little sinister. I'm making money, but you've got to make money to live. We're in a capitalist country, right? We have to pay our bills. Yeah. So I thought, let me just keep on experimenting. Those experiments, give it out to friends and family to taste and see their reaction. At the same time, go to trade shows and source really good ingredients like the fruit purees and meeting different dairy processors around the country and getting formulas from them and tweaking those formulas for freeze drying, all those things. That was still part of the hobby, to be honest with you. And until people started taking me a little bit more serious. It's hard when you're doing testing from the home to get big companies, big corporate ingredient suppliers to sell you and send you ingredients to your home. They don't want to do that. For insurance purposes, for whatever purposes they have, they don't even take you seriously. They're working from the house. How much will I possibly ever sell you to make it worth my while communicating with you? That's their frame of mind. Mm-hmm. But when you do get these individuals that work for these big corporations that like your mission, they like what you're doing, they like the samples, then they start sending you samples. And those are the ones that we still hold on to today, our business partners. From the dairy farm, our fruit supplying partners, which is ultimately the farmers that pick the fruits and those fruits go get processed and pasteurized and all that. So we the people that were kind to us in the past are the people that get our business now. The other people, they can just watch and enjoy, and then they'll become consumers. Everyone's a consumer at the end of the day. Whether you're a business partner or not, you're a consumer. But and most people will enjoy, I think, our Froyo Bites.
Freeze drying is progressing really quickly. I mean, you started in 2016. You said, how many freeze drying people did you know actually like doing it as a business compared to how you feel about it now?
Zero. In 2016 when I got the mini freeze dryer, there was no, 2016, we have to look back and see really when social media started. I don't even know. I mean, I'm just curious. Alexa, when did Instagram start? I'm just curious myself. Oh.
Instagram launched on October 12th, 2010. It started as a simple photo share.
2010, okay. Alexa off. 2010, right? And 2016, so 6 years, but not in 2010, not a lot of people had Instagram. It was still like coming out. And things were just different then.
Yeah. So how do you feel the freeze drying industry is right now on a temperature level? Healthy, growing?
Okay. I freeze dried different things like you would with your freeze dryer, right? Schnitzel, shawarma, falafel, pizza, you name it, all sorts of ingredients. And then you home in on certain things. So we've got some really cool inventions. I just wanted to get Yo's off the ground first. Yo's is ultimately named after my son. His name is Yosef, right? So before I leave this world, I want my son to have something that I can leave him with. My daughter as well, but she's only 9 years old now. But he's a 25-year-old man moving on with life. That age, you normally look to get married and get a house and all that good stuff. And you need money for all that, right? So, and Yo's he lives, eats, breathes Yo's. So really, Yo's is for my son when I'm no longer here. Until then, we grow it together. But there are still really cool inventions that you're going to love. More than Yo's. I'm telling you, more than Yo's. But once I get Yo's off the ground, I get someone to work with my son at the facility that's operating on its own. Fulfillment deals with fulfillment. Production deals with production. Marketing I may still be involved with. But then we've got some really cool stuff coming.
So you feel like freeze drying, where it's headed, is there's huge opportunities in innovation. But you've been doing it, you've gone through a lot of challenges and you're still working through getting this launched to more of that wholesale large distribution. So my question to you is like, what is going to be the biggest obstacle and challenge for these like new recipe invention businesses to start?
The question is really more of what's your goal? You know, if your goal is to be, as an example, a housewife, work from the house, to have a freeze dryer or two at home, freeze dry Laffy Taffy or whatever, or Skittles or whatever, bring in an extra $1,000 of income a month for the household, make things a little easier. That's the goal. You know, for me, my goal was national. How can I make a little bit of money only, a humble amount of money off of a lot of people? That's how I want to pay my bills, rather than just a lot of money off of one or two individuals. You know? So how can I do that? So I think there's a lot of potential out there. If the individual really has to ask themselves, the question is, where do I want to go with this? You know, and obviously if you're doing something that's already done, then you're in a marketplace where no one's really going to hear you so well. If you're going to start and do freeze-dried Skittles now, or even a year or two ago, and the marketplace is so saturated with freeze-dried Skittles, it's hard. It had a good run for a year while America was waking up to what a freeze-dried Skittle is, right? It was really good. You can make it and you can sell it, no problem. And then it slowed down. You know, in my opinion, freeze-dried Skittles are more of an experimental product that you want to try once. You may go back and try it again, but it really doesn't have any health benefits. If you think about it, it's more of a snack.
Yeah, freeze-dried candy, at least for the branded candies, was a launching pad for what the freeze dryer can do to candies.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you too, like if you're going to watch this video 5 years from now, where do you hope Yo's Froyo Bites is?
5 years from now, I would like to collaborate, first of all, with one of the institutions in America, Mondelez, Kellogg's, General Mills, Nestle even, one of these big organizations that have resources beyond anything that I can build at this point in time in my life. You know, think about all the resources these companies have, from marketing and logistics and their food scientists, anything I could probably want. I just want to be able to pick up the phone, call so-and-so at General Mills, my new partner, let's just say I'd like to do this. Say, Haskell, call this guy, he's your guy, and get it done. So it's more of a mutual benefit. You know, it helps those companies with a new product that they're not focusing on the freeze dry arena, right? If they haven't focused on it in 10 years, they're probably not focusing on it, right? It's not as though, oh, they are, but we just don't know it yet. They're not. We haven't seen anything come out of big organizations. Not only we haven't seen anything come out of those big organizations that I just mentioned, we also don't see anything come out of the actual freeze drying empires in America. You know, like the Van Drunens and the Thrive Lives and Watershed. All these companies, they're toll processors. They take commodities, they freeze dry commodity. If you're lucky, they'll have a pouching machine as well. Otherwise, they'll just bulk bag it, and that's it. Then you have to figure all the other steps out. So I think there is plenty of room for innovation.
The need for like a boutique, like full process, full suite type of packing facility is very much needed. I would do it, but it would require a lot of time and capital, and I would need money. Yeah.
It's expensive. We'll do it together.
Yeah.
You know,
if somebody's watching this and you want to invest, I need about $500,000, and then I can buy all the freeze dryers in the facility, and I'd have plenty of clients because I know all of them.
Yeah.
Let's ask you one more. If you could encourage one person in this video, what would you want to say to them?
Do the time. You know, just focus on your craft. Make sure that your craft is unique if you want to hit mass market. If it's going to be the same as everything else, that's fine as well. Unless you say you can't make money. There's always micro markets. You can make a lot of money from micro markets. But the best advice I can give is to stop for a second, take a breath, and think about what it is that you want. You know, it's like putting a prompt into ChatGPT. If you put the right prompt in, then you'll get the right answer. If you put the wrong prompt in, you get the wrong answer. So it's the same with your thoughts. You have to think for yourself. Your mind is a version of ChatGPT. You have to think, what the hell is it that I actually want? You know how many times I ask myself to ask that question? You know, what do I want as far as production? What do I want as far as logistics? What do I want as far as fulfillment? What do I want as far as ingredients? As an example, I know that what I don't want, you have to know what you don't want as well. You know, I know I don't want artificial colors. I know I don't want artificial flavors. I want the fruit flavor to come from the fruit. So what you want and what you don't want are really important to home in on that. And then once you've homed in on it, then you can expand again. But for your thoughts. But first, you have to home in on what it is you want. If you don't know what you want, welcome back.
We're going to go see his facility, but what a great testimony of like why you're doing something and why start a business. Give your business a purpose, whether you're doing freeze drying or not. And Haskell, we're going to go see how you make the Yoast Froyos. So stay tuned. Go to the thumbnail next if you're watching this video and check out the facility.